Kira sat alone in the corner of the Galactic Academy cafeteria, her crystalline blue skin dimming with each passing day. The corner table had become hers by default. Nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted her. She was Valanthi, a species that communicated through telepathic networks, minds linked together in perfect harmony. Except Kira. She was born silent. Her mind was a closed door that wouldn't open, couldn't open. While her people shared thoughts as easily as breathing, Kira could only hear the emptiness inside her own head. Back home, they tried everything. Meditation. Medical treatments. Ancient rituals passed down through generations. Nothing worked. The elders had finally declared what everyone already knew. She was defective. Broken beyond repair. Her parents had held on to hope for a while. Maybe the academy would be different, they'd said. Maybe being around other species would help. Maybe she'd find her place among the stars. 3 months in, and Kira knew the truth. There was no place for her anywhere. The other species avoided her table like it carried some kind of disease. Word traveled fast in a station that housed 200 different alien races. The silent Valanthi girl was broken. Whatever was wrong with her might be contagious. Better to stay away. Kira poked at her nutrient paste with a utensil, watching it change colors under the cafeteria lights. It was designed to meet the dietary needs of her species, perfectly balanced, completely tasteless. She'd stopped caring about food weeks ago. Eating had become just another thing she did alone. The cafeteria buzzed with noise around her. Letharians clicked and hummed at their tables, their exoskeletons gleaming under the artificial lights. The Quelix floated near the ceiling, their gas-based bodies shimmering as they absorbed nutrients from the air. A group of Mandorians argued loudly about something, their 6 arms gesturing wildly. And then there were the humans. Kira found herself watching them again, like she did every day. They gathered in the center of the cafeteria, their tables pushed together into one chaotic mass. Their voices carried across the entire room, loud and unfiltered. They laughed at jokes Kira didn't understand. They argued about things that seemed meaningless. They touched each other constantly, hands on shoulders, playful shoves, quick hugs. They had no telepathy. None at all. Kira had learned that in her xenobiology class. Humans communicated entirely through spoken language and physical gestures. Their minds were completely separate from each other, isolated in individual skulls. By Valanthi standards, every single human should have been as broken as Kira. Yet somehow, they never seemed alone. A human girl threw her head back laughing at something her friend said. A boy reached across the table to steal food from someone else's plate, earning a mock protest. They moved together like a school of fish, separate but synchronized in a way that had nothing to do with telepathy. Kira's skin dimmed further, the light within her fading. That was the cruelest part. Her people could share thoughts instantly, understand each other perfectly, never need to explain or translate their feelings. They had everything. And they'd still cast her out. These humans had nothing. No mental links. No shared consciousness. No way to truly know what existed in another person's mind. They had to guess. Had to use clumsy words and hope they were understood. Had to trust that their feelings were being received correctly. And yet, they'd built something her people never had. They'd built a choice to connect. Kira looked down at her tray. The nutrient paste had gone cold, not that it mattered. She'd throw it away like she did every day, another meal wasted, another day survived. Tomorrow would be the same. It always was. She'd sit in her corner. The other species would avoid her. The humans would laugh and shout and touch each other with easy affection. And Kira would watch, wondering what it felt like to belong somewhere, to someone. Her translator chip beeped softly, signaling the end of the lunch period. Around her, students began gathering their things, heading off to afternoon classes in groups and pairs. Kira waited, like she always did. Waited until most of them had left so she wouldn't have to walk through the crowd alone. She gathered her tray slowly, deliberately, counting the seconds. Her reflection caught in the metallic surface. Her crystalline skin, once bright enough to illuminate a room, now barely glowed. Her luminescent eyes had dulled to a pale shade of blue. Even her appearance was fading, as if she was slowly disappearing. Maybe that would be easier, she thought. To just fade away completely. To stop being a reminder to everyone that sometimes, biology made mistakes. That sometimes, no matter how advanced a species was, some individuals were simply born wrong. The cafeteria had mostly emptied when Kira finally stood. She dumped her untouched meal into the recycler and headed for the exit, her footsteps silent on the metallic floor. Tomorrow, she'd be back in the same corner. Same table. Same silence. The only thing that changed was how much dimmer her light became with each passing day. Jake Parker had noticed the blue girl 3 weeks running. Same corner table. Same untouched food. Same look on her face, like someone who'd forgotten what it felt like to belong anywhere. He'd seen that look before. Back in high school, on the new kid who ate lunch in the library. On his cousin after the divorce, sitting alone at family dinners. It was the look of someone who'd stopped expecting things to get better. The first time Jake noticed her, he'd been carrying his tray past her table. Just a glimpse, really. Blue crystalline skin, dimmed like a dying light bulb. Eyes that stared at nothing. He'd kept walking that day, telling himself it wasn't his business. The second time, he'd actually paused. Watched her sit there for the entire lunch period without taking a single bite. Watched other students give her table a wide berth, like there was an invisible barrier around her. He'd almost said something that day. Almost. But his friends were calling him over, and he'd let the moment pass. By the third week, it was eating at him. Every day, same thing. The girl would sit, the food would go cold, and she'd leave alone. Every day, Jake would think about saying something. And every day, he'd chicken out. His roommate, Ben, caught him staring one afternoon. "Dude, what's with you and the Valanthi girl?" "She's always alone," Jake said. Ben shrugged, biting into his sandwich. "Yeah, well, her species doesn't mix with others. They're all telepathic or whatever. She can't do the mind link thing, so her own people don't want her. Trust me, man, don't bother. You'll just make it weird." But that night, Jake couldn't stop thinking about it. He video called his mom back on Earth, just to hear her voice. She asked about classes, about friends, about whether he was eating enough vegetables. Normal mom stuff. "There's this girl at school," Jake found himself saying. "She eats alone every day. Nobody talks to her." His mom was quiet for a moment. Then she said, in that voice she used when she was about to drop some wisdom, "So talk to her. It's complicated. She's not human. Her species is all telepathic, and she can't do it, so." "Jacob Parker," his mom interrupted. "Did I raise you to walk past someone who's hurting just because it's complicated?" Jake smiled despite himself. "No, Then you know what to do." The next day, Jake ordered pizza from the Earth Sector delivery. Real pizza, not the synthesized stuff from the general cafeteria. It cost him a week's worth of meal credits, but whatever. He could eat ramen for a few days. The box was warm in his hands as he walked through the cafeteria. His heart was pounding harder than it should have been. It was just introducing himself. No big deal. People did it all the time. Except the cafeteria noise seemed to dim as he approached her table. Or maybe that was just in his head. He could feel eyes on him. Ben was probably shaking his head. Other students were definitely noticing. Humans didn't approach the broken Valanthi girl. That was the unspoken rule. Jake had never been great with rules. "Hey," he said, sliding into the seat across from her before he could change his mind. "You like pizza?" The girl's membrane flickered, and her whole body seemed to tense up. She looked at him like he was some kind of hallucination. Her skin, which had been a dull blue, suddenly rippled with surprised patterns. Her translator chip made a soft beeping sound, like it was struggling with something. "Pizza?" she repeated slowly, her voice barely above a whisper. Like she hadn't used it in a while. Jake pushed the box toward her and flipped it open. The smell of cheese and pepperoni filled the space between them. "Yeah, pizza. It's kind of a human thing. Bread, cheese, tomato sauce, whatever toppings you want. This one's got pepperoni. That's a meat, by the way. If you don't eat meat, I can." She was staring at the triangular slices like they were alien artifacts. Which, Jake realized, from her perspective they kind of were. "I don't know what that is," she said finally, her luminescent eyes moving from the pizza to his face. Her expression was a mixture of confusion and something else. Suspicion, maybe. Or fear. Like she was waiting for the punchline, for the moment when he'd reveal this was all some kind of joke. Jake picked up a slice and took a bite, trying to make it look normal and non-threatening. "It's food. Really good food. My mom used to make it every Friday night back home. Family tradition, you know?" The girl's skin flickered again. Jake wasn't sure what that meant in Valanthi body language, but at least she hadn't run away yet. "Why are you sitting here?" she asked quietly. The question caught Jake off guard. He'd expected confusion about the pizza, maybe some cultural misunderstanding. But there was something raw in her voice, something that made his chest tighten. "Why not?" he said, keeping his tone light. Table's got 2 seats. Seemed like a waste for you to have it all to yourself. She stared at him for a long moment, and Jake suddenly felt like he was being analyzed. Studied. Like she was trying to figure out what his angle was, what he wanted from her. I'm Jake, he said, filling the silence. Jake Parker. 2nd year, engineering track. And you are? Another long pause. Then, so softly he almost missed it, Kira. Nice to meet you, Kira. Jake pushed the pizza box a little closer. So, you gonna try this or what? Because I gotta tell you, it's a crime to let good pizza go cold. Kira looked at the pizza, then at Jake, then back at the pizza. Her hand moved slowly, hesitantly, reaching for a slice like it might bite her. And Jake smiled, because for the first time in 3 weeks, the blue girl in the corner didn't look quite so alone. It started with pizza. That first day, Kira had taken the smallest bite imaginable, like she was afraid it might poison her. Then her eyes had widened, her skin flickering with colors Jake had never seen before. She'd eaten 3 slices without saying a word. The next day, Jake brought tacos. Kira had held the folded tortilla awkwardly, unsure which end to bite from. Jake showed her, and when the flavors hit her tongue, her crystalline skin actually glowed brighter. Not much, but enough that Jake noticed. Then came burgers. Kira had stared at the bun-wrap thing like it was a puzzle. Why is the meat inside the bread? She'd asked, genuinely confused. Human food makes no logical sense. Jake had laughed. Yeah, well, logic isn't really our strong suit. But taste? We've got that down. She'd taken a bite, and for the first time since Jake had met her, Kira had smiled. A real smile, not the polite kind. Her whole face had lit up, literally, her bioluminescence pulsing with something that looked like happiness. But it wasn't really about the food. Jake knew that. Kira probably knew it too. One afternoon, about 2 weeks in, Kira asked the question that had clearly been bothering her. Why do you keep bringing me food? Jake had been mid-bite into his sandwich. He swallowed, thinking about how to answer. Back home, he said finally, my mom always said that sharing food is how you tell someone they're not alone. Like, anyone can say I care about you, right? But cooking for someone, sharing your meal with them, that's different. That's showing it. Kira's skin rippled with soft blue patterns. But your species doesn't have telepathy. You can't share thoughts. How do you know what others are feeling? We don't, not really, Jake admitted. We have to guess. We have to pay attention to faces, voices, body language. We mess it up all the time. But that's kind of the point, I think. We have to try. We have to choose to understand each other. Choose, Kira repeated softly, like the word meant something different to her now. Yeah. See, humans, we didn't get telepathy. So we had to figure out other ways to tell people they matter. Food is one of them. So are words, even though words are pretty clumsy sometimes. Physical touch, like hugs and stuff. Spending time together. Making each other laugh. We built all these little bridges because we had to. Kira's skin brightened slightly, a warm glow that Jake had learned meant she was feeling something good. It was the first time in months she'd shown that kind of light. The next day, something unexpected happened. Ben showed up at their table. Jake looked up, surprised. Hey man. Ben set his tray down like it was the most natural thing in the world. Yo. Amy's coming too. That cool? Before Jake could answer, a girl with red hair and freckles appeared. Is this the famous Kira I've been hearing about? Amy asked, sliding in next to Ben. Jake won't shut up about your reaction to trying chicken nuggets. Kira's skin flickered with embarrassment. I didn't know they weren't actually from chickens. Amy laughed. Oh man, wait until you find out about buffalo wings. The next day, Amy brought her friend Tyler. Tyler was in Kira's advanced mathematics class, though they'd never spoken before. Dude, you're the one who solved the quantum equation in like 5 minutes, he said, looking impressed. Can you help me with the homework? I've been stuck for 2 days. Kira blinked, clearly not used to being asked for help. Yes. I can help. By the end of the week, their table had grown. Tyler brought his study group. Someone from Jake's engineering class joined them. Amy's lab partner started showing up. None of them seemed to care that Kira couldn't mindlink. None of them treated her like she was broken. They argued about the best pizza toppings. They complained about professors. They showed each other videos on their datapads of things they found funny. They included Kira in everything, explaining jokes she didn't get, teaching her human slang, asking her questions about Valanthi culture. One day, Jake brought a deck of cards and tried to teach everyone poker. Kira was terrible at it. Her skin changed colors whenever she got a good hand, making it impossible to bluff. Everyone thought it was hilarious, including Kira. "I don't understand," she said, laughing as Tyler called her obvious bluff. "My people can read each other's thoughts. Shouldn't I be better at this?" "Yeah, but you're playing with humans now," Amy said, grinning. "We actually have to work at reading people. You're out of practice." Another day, Ben showed Kira something on his datapad. "Look, I made a group chat. For all of us. You're in it." Kira stared at the screen. It was a human messaging app, simple and clunky compared to telepathic communication. But there she was, her name in the list of members. Messages were already flying back and forth, jokes and memes and plans for studying together. "You made a network," Kira said slowly. "For communication. Like my people have. But you built it. With technology." "Well, yeah," Ben said. "How else are we supposed to stay connected? We can't read minds." Kira looked around the table. At Jake, who'd first asked if she liked pizza. At Amy, who taught her about sarcasm. At Tyler, who'd asked for her help like it was obvious she had value. At Ben, who'd just added her to something humans used to fight their natural isolation. They'd built what her people were born with. They'd chosen it. Chosen each other. Chosen her. "You chose to include me," Kira whispered. Amy looked confused. "Well, yeah. You're our friend." Friend. The word settled into Kira's chest like warmth. Her skin glowed brighter than it had in months, bright enough that people at other tables noticed. For the first time since coming to the academy, Kira wasn't watching humans from a distance, wondering what belonging felt like. She was living it. The Valanthi Council arrived on a Tuesday, right in the middle of lunch period. The cafeteria went quiet as three tall, shimmering figures entered through the main doors. They moved in perfect synchronization, their steps matching exactly, their heads turning at the same angle. Their minds were linked as one and everyone could tell. Kira's skin went pale the moment she saw them. Her glow dimmed until she was almost gray. Jake watched her shrink in her seat, like she was trying to disappear. "Kira of the Valanthi," the lead counselor's voice rang out across the silent cafeteria. Clinical. Like reading from a script. "You are summoned." Jake felt Kira trembling next to him. Amy reached across the table and grabbed her hand. Ben leaned forward, his jaw tight. The three counselors approached their table and students scattered out of their way. Nobody wanted to get between Valanthi officials and their business. Nobody except the humans. "Kira must return for remedial conditioning," the lead counselor announced, not even looking at the humans sitting with her. "She cannot bond with her people. She will live in the outer colonies where her defect won't disrupt the network." Her defect. Jake felt anger rising in his chest. She's a person, not a broken machine. The counselor's eyes finally shifted to Jake, cold and dismissive. "Human. This does not concern you." "Like hell it doesn't," Ben muttered. The academy administrators had gathered now, looking uncomfortable. This was technically a family matter, Valanthi business. They couldn't interfere with another species' cultural practices. But they'd called a quick student assembly in the cafeteria, trying to keep things official and documented. Jake stood up from the table, his chair scraping loud against the floor. His heart was hammering, but he'd learned a long time ago that sometimes you had to speak up even when your voice shook. "With respect, counselor," Jake said, and several students nearby snorted at his tone because it didn't sound respectful at all. "Her grades improved 40% this semester. She's tutoring 6 different students in advanced mathematics and xenobiology. Her social integration scores are the highest in her class." The counselor's expression didn't change. "Irrelevant. She cannot connect with her own kind. That is what matters." "That's what matters to you," Jake shot back. "But maybe your definition of connection is too narrow." The other two counselors shifted, a ripple of shared thought passing between them. The lead counselor's eyes narrowed. "You are human. You cannot possibly understand the importance of the mental network to our society." "You're right, I can't," Jake admitted. "But I understand what I've seen. 3 months ago, Kira sat alone every single day. She didn't talk to anyone. She didn't eat. She was fading away. Now look at her." The counselor finally looked at Kira, really looked at her. Her skin was still pale with fear, but she was surrounded by people. Tyler had moved closer on one side. Amy was still holding her hand. Ben was on his feet now too. A dozen other students had gathered around their table, humans and non-humans alike. She's connected, Jake continued. Maybe not the way you do it, but she's connected. She has friends. People who care about her. People she cares about. Isn't that what your network is supposed to provide? The network is perfect unity, the counselor said. Complete understanding. No miscommunication. No loneliness. No doubt. What you describe is primitive and inefficient. Maybe, Jake said. But it's real. And it's a choice. Every single day we choose to understand each other. We choose to include each other. We mess up constantly. We misunderstand things. We have to actually work at it. But that's what makes it matter. Tyler stood up too. Kira helped me pass quantum mechanics. She stayed up until 3 in the morning explaining concepts I couldn't grasp. She didn't have to do that. Amy joined in. She laughs at my terrible jokes. She remembers things I tell her. She asks how my day was and actually listens to the answer. More students started standing. A Litharian from their study group. A Quelix that Kira had helped with chemistry. One by one, testimonials from a dozen different species. The counselor raised a hand for silence. Emotional testimony does not change biological fact. She cannot join the network. She is fundamentally incompatible with Valanthi society. Then maybe Valanthi society is what's broken, Jake said quietly. The cafeteria went dead silent. You didn't say that kind of thing to a species council. Not if you wanted to avoid an interstellar incident. But Jake pressed on. You have this perfect connection, this amazing ability to share thoughts instantly. And you used it to throw out anyone who doesn't fit your exact mold. We humans had to learn to connect without any of that. We had to build empathy from scratch. And yeah, it's harder. Yeah, we screw it up all the time. But at least we try. At least we make room for people who are different. The lead counselor's expression remained neutral, but there was something in his eyes now. Uncertainty maybe. The first crack in that perfect mental unity. The decision stands, he said finally. Kira will return with us. But before he could say anything else, Kira spoke. Her voice was soft but steady, and it cut through the tension like a blade. No, she said simply. I won't. Kira stood. Her legs trembled, but she stood. Jake could see her hands shaking, her skin flickering between dim blue and pale gray. But she stood. I wish to speak, she said. The room went completely silent. Even the Litharians stopped their constant clicking. The Quelix descended from the ceiling, their gaseous forms settling to watch. Every eye in the cafeteria was on Kira. The lead counselor's expression flickered with something that might have been surprise. You have no voice in this matter. The decision has been made. I have a voice, Kira said, louder now. And I'm using it. In Valanthi culture, the silent ones didn't speak at councils. They accepted their place. They bowed their heads and followed orders. That was how it had always been. That was tradition. But Kira wasn't bowing her head. I was taught that I was broken, she said, her voice growing stronger with each word. From the moment I was born and they realized I couldn't join the network, I was told something was wrong with me. Defective. Damaged. Incomplete. I believed it. For my entire life, I believed it. Her skin was beginning to glow now, faint but growing. Jake felt Amy grab his arm, squeezing tight. I came to this academy thinking maybe I could fix myself, Kira continued. Maybe if I tried hard enough, studied enough, meditated enough, something would click and I'd suddenly be able to connect like everyone else. But it never happened. And I fell apart. I stopped eating. I stopped trying. I stopped believing I deserved to exist. The counselors stood frozen, their perfect synchronization disrupted. One of them shifted slightly, out of step with the others. And then this human sat down at my table, Kira said, looking directly at Jake. He asked if I liked pizza. Such a simple question. Such a strange question. I didn't even know what pizza was. But he shared his food with me anyway. He came back the next day. And the next. He didn't care that I couldn't read his mind. He used words instead. Clumsy, inefficient words. But they worked. Jake felt his throat tighten. He'd just been trying to help. He hadn't realized what it meant to her. Humans taught me something you never did, Kira said, turning back to the counselors. They taught me that the hardest kind of connection is the one you choose. Not the one you're born into. You never had to work for understanding. It was given to you at birth, automatic and effortless. You never had to wonder if someone understood you. You never had to struggle to explain your feelings. You never had to take a risk by reaching out to someone. Her skin was glowing brighter now, patterns of light dancing across her crystalline surface. Humans don't have any of that, Kira said. Every single connection they make is a choice. They have to pay attention. They have to learn. They have to guess what others are feeling based on tiny clues. And they're wrong sometimes. They misunderstand. They hurt each other by accident. But they keep trying. They built empathy from nothing because they had to. And that's harder than anything you've ever done. The lead counselor finally spoke. You praise their limitations. You celebrate their disability. No, Kira said firmly. I celebrate their strength. The strength to connect without guarantees. The strength to care about someone even when you can't fully understand them. The strength to include people who are different instead of casting them out. She looked around the cafeteria. At Jake, who'd brought her pizza. At Amy, who'd added her to the group chat. At Ben, who'd sat down at her table when everyone else avoided it. At Tyler, who'd asked for her help like her thoughts had value. At the 50 other faces from a dozen different species who'd become home. You taught me I was broken because I couldn't do what you do, Kira said softly. They taught me I was valuable because of what I can do. You gave me shame. They gave me belonging. So no, counselors, I'm not going with you. The cafeteria erupted. Students were cheering, stomping their feet, banging on tables. Humans were shouting support. Other species joined in with their own expressions of approval. It was chaos, beautiful and messy and completely uncoordinated. The three counselors looked at each other. For the first time, Jake saw uncertainty in their perfect unity. Finally, the lead counselor spoke. You choose exile, then. I choose home, Kira corrected. The counselors turned and left without another word, their synchronized steps echoing through the cafeteria. The door closed behind them, and for a moment, nobody moved. Then Amy jumped up and hugged Kira so hard they both nearly fell over. Ben whooped and threw his arms around both of them. Tyler was laughing and crying at the same time. And Jake just stood there, grinning so wide his face hurt. That evening, the cafeteria was packed like never before. Word had spread through the entire station. Students from every species showed up, and Jake had spent all afternoon teaching anyone interested how to make pizza. It was absolute chaos. The Letharians made pizza with their nutrient paste, which somehow worked. The Quelix tried to absorb pizza essence into their gaseous forms. A group of Mandorians argued about whether 6 toppings was better than 4, using all 6 of their arms to gesture wildly. 50 different species, attempting various interpretations of dough and cheese and sauce. Most of it was terrible. Some of it was inedible. None of it mattered. Jake handed Kira a slice of pepperoni pizza that he'd made himself. It was lopsided and the cheese was burnt on one side, but it was made with care. Welcome home, he said. Kira took a bite. And then she started to glow. Not the dim flicker she'd had for months. Not even the moderate brightness from when she'd first smiled. This was full, blazing luminescence, bright enough to light the entire cafeteria. Her skin shone like a star, patterns of light dancing across her crystalline surface, reflecting off every metal surface until the whole room was filled with blue radiance. Students shielded their eyes, laughing. Someone started clapping. Then everyone was clapping, cheering for the girl who'd found her light again. And Kira stood there, surrounded by friends who'd chosen her, eating terrible pizza in a chaotic cafeteria, glowing brighter than she'd ever thought possible. Not because she could read minds. But because someone had asked if she liked pizza.